Senegal's next presidential election isn't until February, but human rights activists say the government has already started a crackdown on dissent. Clashes between opposition supporters and police have claimed at least 16 lives since Thursday. The latest unrest was sparked by the sentencing of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko. His supporters took to the streets in protest. Some threw rocks and set tires on fire. Those caught in the middle say it's the worst violence in decades. Sonko, who was accused of corrupting the youth, was sentenced to 2 years in prison. That will likely end any chance he has of running in next year's presidential elections. And this weekend, the government cut off mobile internet service to stop what it's referring to as hateful and subversive messages. Groups like Amnesty International are pleading with leaders to respect human rights and stop what they say is the excessive use of force. Let's get some perspective from within Senegal. We're joined live now by freelance journalist Borso Tall. Borso, thank you so much for being with us. Senegal has been traditionally seen as a bastion for stability in West Africa. That image is being challenged right now. Aside from the crackdown in terms of targeting Ousmane Sonko, we're also seeing a crackdown on other forms of dissent, arbitrary arrests, and also a crackdown in terms of social media as well. You were in Dakar over the weekend. Just walk us through what you saw and what you heard.
Okay, over the weekend, what we first see is what we've been seeing for the past few weeks, and more so what we've seen escalating since Ousmane Sonko was sentenced to 2 years for having misconduct with a woman under the age of 21 at the time of the rape accusation in Dakar. And so what we have is a multiplication of fights. Groups of people get together to fight, and just all over the city in Dakar and all across the country altogether. So it's multiplied to bring some sort of distraction to the police forces. And we've seen a lot of areas where the police forces are a minority and they run away from the population who run after them. Now, how do they run after them? They're not running after them with real bullets, with guns and real bullets. They're running after the police forces with stones, rocks, and woods, like pieces of wood, anything that they can use, bricks, just to chase them away from the area where they're fighting from. They burn tires. So this is a clash between people who burn tires, who use rocks, and who use even curtain rods. I saw somebody carry a curtain rod because that's the only way they have to express their anger towards the government. As opposed to police forces in various forms and uniforms who come with first lacrimogene is a tear gas. And on top of that, they use real bullets now, and they've killed so far more than 16 people for the past few days, and that is what's going on. Various areas of groups fighting, sometimes getting together in one big neighborhood, and it's just children dying, and it's chaotic because, like you said, we don't know anything about this in Senegal. This is the first time that we've had this much chaos go on. Simply because a president has not said whether or not he would like to become president for the third time. And when the Constitution says clearly that there is no way any president can become head of state more than 2 consecutive terms. So that is what's going on in Dakar, in Senegal right now, something that needs to be known by everyone.
So just in terms of Ousmane Sonko, I mean, he came third, I believe, in the 2019 elections. Obviously, he is considered to be the greatest threat to Macky Sall, the president of Senegal, the current president of Senegal. From what I understand, because of these charges and because he was convicted of, quote unquote, corrupting the youth, he cannot run again. He cannot stand in next year's presidential elections. Just explain to us, though, why Ousmane Sonko is so appealing to young people in Senegal who want change. Why have young people gravitated towards him as a possible presidential figure?
Before young people, let me go back a little bit to a tradition that we have in Senegal called Masla in Wolof Teranga. Put together, that means talking in peace and finding solutions in peace together. So basically what's been happening in Senegal since independence is that whatever bothers the country, whatever bothers people, we sit together and we discuss it, and then we find solutions for for decades and decades, whatever happened, aside from various times of tension, what we have is just peaceful concentration, peaceful gatherings, and peaceful talks until when I say we, it's the people that I exchange with, the population, the young people, until they realized that any opponent to the new president, to the current president, is put aside. We have the example of Karim Wade first, who is the former president's son, Abdoulaye Wade, who also wanted to run for president, is now in exile for the past few years. We have another example, which is Khalifa Sall, who's also an opponent, who was put in jail for some sort of corruption allegations. And seeing those two patterns, seeing those two elements coming one after the other, Sonko comes, is young, has the voice of young people, has the message young people want to hear, is talking about ending dependency from colonial times. It's difficult to say this way, but a lot of people here understand that international relations should be redefined as a win-win relation rather than just one country over another. That's the mindset over here. So he comes with that mindset that we are going to work together to put Senegal first. He comes and talks about promises to change the economy and to give chances to young people to have employment and a future. He comes and talks about equality in terms of work, in terms of health, education, etc. So this man comes to just change the whole narrative that young people have heard since they were born. And because of that, Macky Sall, who surprisingly is fighting against this, while he fought for justice in the same situation when he was with Abdoulaye Wade in 2012, because that's how he got into power. He came into power by fighting a third term. He came into power by having the support of the people. And now what we're seeing is that he's against the very people who stood for him, who died for him, because a lot of people died during the time of Abdoulaye Wade's wish to become a president for the third time. And he is repeating every single step that the population fought against in 2012. So everything is repeated. And even added, because he is arresting more people, he has put in jail people of the opposition parties.
Borso, let me ask you, if Macky Sall announces or makes it very, very clear that he is going to attempt a very controversial third run at the presidency, third term, what happens? I mean, just in terms of the violence that we're seeing on the streets, how will that play out between now and next year?
You mean to tell me if he decides to run for a third term?
Yes, if he formally decides.
It will be chaos. It will be chaos. People will not accept it. People will just not accept it. So not only are they fighting against a third term, they're also requesting that Sonko, who is under illegal house arrest, because he has not been given an arrest warrant yet. He is in his house with his family, with no connection, no access to his lawyers, no access to anyone, from activists to even civil society organizations, the leaders, access to nobody. He is on his own right now, just, I suppose, because no one has access to him. And even his party, the closest to his party, do not have access to him. He is just under illegal house arrest. And this far, if Macky Sall comes and says that he is going to run for a third term, it will be a chaos that we have not witnessed yet in Senegal, because people are very angry, very frustrated that their only hope to see this change, because we have what we call in French alternance, which is this just transition that we have after every second term for the past decade. To see this change while they had to fight for it in 2012 is just a setback that no one in this population is willing to see happen right now.
I mean, what we're seeing on the streets. What we're seeing on the streets in Dakar is very uncharacteristic for Senegal, just in terms of just in terms of the perception that we have of Senegal in other parts of the world.
Absolutely.
But we have to leave it. We have to leave it there. I am out of time. I want to say thank you, and we'll have you back on again as we move closer to those elections next year. Thank you so much, Borso Tall.
Looking forward to that.